Okay, so today is a quick demo of how I do my t-shirt quilts. So we're going to cut a few t-shirts today to talk about t-shirt quilts and the prep process of how those are done. So I like to lay out the shirts, and that way they're nice and flat, they're not stretched. I personally like to open up the shirt before I start cutting the decal away for the t-shirt quilt. So I just take a pair of old scissors and I just go up the sides and out the sleeves, and you don't have to be super careful with any of this because you're just opening up the t-shirt in this process. This is just to help the t-shirt lay flatter. And if I was using the back side of this t-shirt, if there was a decal on the back of it, that way I wouldn't be cutting through both layers, and I could get each layer at a time. So like there is a decal on the back. If I was going to use that, by doing this I could cut the first side and then turn it around and cut the other side to have two decals from this shirt. So, but on this shirt we're just going to be using this front side here. So I just like to lay it out to where nothing is stretched and everything is nice and loose. And I have templates here that are acrylic, and everything is divisible by 4. And so in using measurements that everything is divisible by 4, they will always stay square or rectangle. So this particular template here is a 12.5 by 12.5, so it'll finish at a 12-inch square. All these t-shirts here primarily have the same decal, so I'm going to be cutting them all 12-inch squares. So basically I just center this template on this decal, try not to get up here in this neck area because that'll create a bulky seam. So I try to look and make sure I've got about the amount of width on each side before I cut it. And basically I'm just going to rotary cut all the way around it. And so now there is my t-shirt that I've cut into a 12-inch square. So now I'm going to take some Pellon 911 featherweight that I have already cut the same size as these templates, and I prefer to use a heat press to put this on. It's a fusible. This will help this t-shirt not roll up and not crinkle, and it'll make it a lot easier for me to start sewing blocks together when I get ready to do the sewing. So basically I'd flip it over, and the glue side is the bumpy side, and so I would just put it on my t-shirt just like that. And as you notice, this one's a little short. These are some scrap pieces that I have, but the great thing about this Pellon is you can overlap it just like I'm doing right here, and once that's heat pressed on, I use a heat press at 350 degrees for 8 seconds. Once that is heat pressed on, you will not be able to tell that it's any thicker in the middle. You won't be able to tell that I've used a layered piece of scrap Pellon. So you may use your scraps. I recommend that you do because it's too expensive not to. And then just heat press those and go through them, and that's how you do your t-shirt blocks. So I have another one here that I have a couple others that I'm gonna show you real quickly. Like this is on a sleeve. So this kid's name is on the sleeve, and I want to capture that kid's name. And so I'm going to open up this sleeve right on the seam, my scissors. And this is one of those slick dry weave shirts. It's going to heat press just like the cotton shirts or the polyester shirts. I just usually don't heat press it quite 8 seconds. I usually do about 5 or 6 seconds, especially with vinyl letters, because sometimes those vinyl letters tend to either want to unstick or they want to melt or adhere to my heat press, which I use a Teflon sheet. So now I've opened up that sleeve, and I want to capture his name. So using my templates that are divisible by 4, I have one here that's 4.5 by 12.5 that I'm going to lay on there in Audition, and it's going to capture his name nicely. So I'm just going to center that template and just kind of eyeball it, where have the same distance down here. And if it's not printed straight, you can move this template to make it straight. So when you got it centered about where you want it, then we just rotary cut it, holding pressure in the middle of the template.